Hey folks, thank you for joining us. Welcome to Retirement Roadmap with MasterPlan Retirement Consultants. My name is Evan, and with me, as always, retirement planner Mark Fricks. Mark, how are you today?
Doing great, having a great time. It's just so many new and different kinds of clients that have been coming in lately. Just different stories and different, I guess that's why we love what we do, is because there's always something, a different story, hey, this is where we've been, this is where we want to go. And it's just fun, it's exciting, and helping them realize their dreams and that there is hope for them. It's just, I'm so blessed, we're so blessed to be able to do what we do.
Well, we certainly have our philosophy and approach to retirement planning, but one of the things that makes the job interesting is that every situation is different. Everyone has unique circumstances, unique goals or dreams. And so there's a little bit of a fresh start every time.
Absolutely. That's something what I love, and it keeps our job exciting and different. And then you throw on top of that the fact that something's changing in laws, whether it be tax laws, Social Security, always.
Right.
They've just had a new ruling from the IRS on interpreting the Secure Act 2.0 as far as you can't stretch your money anymore when you pass away. I don't want to get on a tangent here, but now they've kind of changed how that works. So we got to read up on that and make sure we understand those rules.
Right.
Always something different, but again, that's what keeps it exciting and keeps my brain semi-working.
And that's why the regulators stress continuing education.
Yes,
for sure. So today we're actually going to be pulling a little bit from an article from Kiplinger Magazine. The article is titled "How to Retire Early in 6 Steps." So we're going to walk through some of what they present, and the article is by Jacob Schroeder, if anyone is interested. But we're going to walk through, kind of give our interpretation, maybe add a little to it here and there. But retiring early seems like a lot of people love that idea, but when it comes down to practice, it requires a lot of you.
Didn't we just have a client in here this week or last who said their son is ready to retire at age 38?
I don't know. I wasn't there. I would have remembered
Maybe you weren't
that.
in that meeting, but I'm like, my jaw dropped. But that, first of all, I said, you've done a great job teaching him, but it comes down to him and his family, of course. But if that's a desire, I mean, if you plan right, you can do it. It's not like he's making $5 million a year. He's just making an average salary, but he's sacrificing so that the second half of his life, he can do whatever he wants to do. Now, is that good or bad? We're going to talk about that today. But yeah, I mean, it can be done with the right planning and discipline.
And exactly. Discipline now equals freedom later. And I think that we'll go through our entire conversation. But also, before we jump in, retiring early can look like a lot of different things to a lot of different people. Sometimes it really truly does mean I am not earning income anymore at this point. I'm not working for my income. I'm using my assets to keep me through my lifestyle. But sometimes it means working that big corporate job for 10 years or however long, or that tech job or whatever, so that you can transition into something that's maybe less demanding on you, something that you maybe have a passion for, things like that can carry you through the rest of your life as well.
Yeah, so somebody that was actually a teacher, he was not my teacher in high school, older than me, of course. He was able to retire as a teacher in his early to mid-50s, which is pretty young.
It's impressive on a teacher's salary, too.
Yeah, but he saved everything he could in the old Pioneer mutual fund. It's been around forever. But he moved to Florida, became a boat captain.
Wow. Yeah.
And he made money doing it, but he wasn't worried about making money doing it. He loved it. He wanted to be on the ocean. He wanted to take people to the ocean. And so, and he did that for years and years. And so that was his retirement. Doesn't mean he didn't make money, but money wasn't the primary motivation, like you said.
Well, that brings us to our first point. Set a high savings rate. Now, essentially, the higher the percentage of your income you save, the sooner you'll be able to retire. Simple enough. The average American saves only about 4% of their earnings, which is in contrast to the 10 to 15%, which is recommended by financial experts. T. Rowe Price analysis suggests that saving at the higher end of this range could help you accumulate 11 times your pre-retirement income by age 65. Now, with many Americans living paycheck to paycheck, it can be difficult to see where to make budget cuts. And essentially that's what you're looking at for saving. If you're not increasing your income or anything else like that in the moment, first of all, how do you live below your means?
Yeah, well, so I see two paths that people take. The first path is, again, that disciplined 21-year-old, 23-year-old, their first job, they start off not spending all their money.
Yeah.
And so they don't get into that hole. But a lot of people don't do that. I mean, when I was young, I spent everything I had. So then the next kind of opening is kind of as your kids start getting out of the house, you can save more, which is a shame because that's 30 years later. That's 30 years of savings you didn't do, but it's not too late.
Yeah.
I mean, we see people do that every day. We help them do that. But that's kind of the pattern we see because like you said, once you start this spending here, it's really hard, not impossible,
Yeah.
but really hard to start knocking that spending down. But we're going to go through some things that might help.
Yeah, well, and even, and I'm preaching to myself, when I have young children at home, and I feel the crunch of, okay, where can I allocate my budget to maximize my spending and really getting the discipline and making the cuts and making those difficult decisions in the moment, sacrificing so that you're still consistently putting away money to save, even if it's not as much as would be ideal for you, but maintaining a consistent habit will go such a long way, especially long term.
Yeah, setting a goal, next year we want to be saving 6% and then keep building that goal up higher. And things will happen. Something will come along, but that's why you want some money in retirement, some money, emergency fund, things like that as well. But, things happen, but if you just keep slogging through and have those goals and keep increasing those goals, I tell you what, you're going to have a great retirement.
Absolutely, and diversify your savings. Right now, high yield savings accounts are a really great option because the rates are still good. We'll see what it looks like towards the end of the year when the Fed starts changing the rates. So money markets are good too. The cool thing about those two is they're liquid, so you still have a backup for emergencies. You can pull out of that. Unlike if you were putting strictly only into a brokerage account that's tied to the market, that you might not want to pull out when the market's down, that you might want to stay the course there. So diversifying your savings, making sure you have liquid savings, but also taking advantage of the market long term. And we'll get into that a little bit later as well. Seek professional help to optimize your investments.
Yeah, primarily we're talking about retirement consultants, not like psychologists and psychiatrists.
Sometimes you need both. Sometimes we play both roles.
Actually, I think I might need some professional help. but seriously, don't be afraid to get guidance. I mean, there are people that are trained. I mean, we go to the doctor for medical guidance. We go to a CPA for tax guidance. I mean, find a fiduciary that's not looking to sell you something, but looking to guide you along the way. And and make sure, hopefully they have a little bit of a friend of mine used to say a little bit of salt in their pepper. In other words, a little bit of gray in their beard, some experience. And I don't know if that's critical, but it's certainly, you've been through a couple of bear markets now. I've been through probably 10, whatever it may be, or certainly a lot of corrections. We got some corrections happening now. Those are not forever. Don't panic. Don't switch gears because of a market blip. Hang in there. Somebody that knows what they're doing, but also has a good background. Hey, ask for references. Our clients love to talk to new clients coming in, saying, hey, yeah, they do what they say they're going to do. But make sure they're coming from a consulting and an advisory standpoint, not a sales standpoint. Fiduciary, basically.
Excellent. Number 2, maximize your income. Now, a lofty income isn't necessarily a prerequisite for early retirement. Consider a survey by Empower that indicates Americans associate financial independence with an annual income of around $94,000. However, like our previous point, the equation is pretty straightforward. Higher earnings facilitate greater savings. You may be able to increase your income with your current career by working additional hours, seeking promotion, or transitioning to a better paying job. But beyond conventional 9-to-5 employment, you can look for freelance opportunities or invest in assets that can generate passive income. We know that real estate tends to be really popular, but that kind of stuff also comes with its own baggage that you have to consider as well. You might consider tapping into your own home's value, converting your basement to an Airbnb or that garage apartment or something like that. Look for opportunities that are unique to your situation. One such example would be, we have about a third or more of our client base are federal employees, and they're really lucky. They have great benefits. They actually are one of the few places that still have a pension. It's called the FERS pension. Well, their first pension accumulates based on a few different rules, and one of them is locality pay. So you could actually work in a higher locality pay. San Francisco is one of the higher ones, and you can accumulate more there
into your pension.
Into your pension. So some people will choose, without getting too far down the rabbit hole, basically there are 36 consecutive months, the high three, 3 years essentially is what you base your pension on at your highest pay rate. Some people have moved to a higher locality pay, like San Francisco for a few years, let that grow their pension, and then move back to somewhere else with maybe a lower cost of living, just so in the future they have more money coming in the door. And it's small things like that that could be unique to your situation, and only you know what your situation is, but really start to think outside of the box in that case.
Well, and maybe think about other opportunities that do have a pension. If you're working in the private sector, maybe you want to transition into a government job, whether it be federal or state or whatever, because they do have a pension. Maybe take a hobby and turning into something to make some money. There's so many opportunities out there of things, and I'm not saying work all weekend and never take a vacation necessarily, but I am saying that there are opportunities, even maybe getting the family involved in some things, or maybe, to switch gears, going back to school and getting another certificate or some additional training that will give you more money at your current job. So again, if it's important, now if you love your job, you make good money, that's fine, but again, maybe there's something, a hobby you can turn it into. Or I love the Airbnb idea as well. There's so many things like that.
Well, we're in Metro Atlanta, which is a sprawl, but there's agriculture and livestock around here, even though we're still Metro Atlanta. But the further out you get, there's a lot more open land. People have land. Consider maximizing some land that's just sitting there. You could rent that to a farmer or a rancher or someone who might have livestock. Now there are regulations. You have to make sure your land qualifies for sure.
You don't want to do it in your subdivision.
Right, for sure. But thinking about that, if you have an open field or just some land that requires upkeep, you put livestock on there, the upkeep is...
Or maybe forestry.
Or forestry, absolutely. So just think outside the box with some of these things.
Yep.
Before we go to number 3, I want to take a moment and point you to our website, MasterPlanRetire.com. There you can find multiple retirement resources, including links to this show. But more importantly, you can schedule your complimentary consultation with an advisor. That's an opportunity to discuss your own retirement, your hopes, your dreams, get a retirement outlook for yourself, really a 10,000-foot view of your own retirement. That's MasterPlanRetire.com, or call us 770-980-9262. Number 3, and this kind of plays with number 1, hand in hand of setting a high savings rate, and that's number 3, control your spending.
Ouch.
No one likes the B word.
The B word is budget, by the way.
Yeah,
let's clarify that.
Yeah, for all of you in traffic right now.
That's right. There's lots of budget tools out there, though, that are less painful now. And it doesn't mean you don't ever go out to eat. It doesn't mean you don't ever go out and buy a cup of coffee. It just means you set a limit. And so you say, okay, we're going to spend this much money on entertainment. Okay, once you reach that limit, if it's the 25th of the month, you stop. That's called discipline. We have budget tools that we can pass on to you. We can even, discuss some ideas about that as well, and on a one-on-one basis. What can you cut? Certainly you want to get rid of credit card debt and things like that, but this is more about that daily and monthly spending. And
how many streaming services do you really need? How often are you dining out? Unused memberships.
What about
that.
Automatic money that's coming out? Maybe you don't notice every month you're getting dinged with $12 for some subscription you don't even read or something like that. So many different things. They even have apps now that will screen those for you.
Yeah,
that I've heard about.
I was just thinking about that, but at the same time, that's a subscription.
Oh, it's okay. Well,
so I guess you kind of weigh the pros and cons of that. But even something as simple as meal prep, you buy in bulk and prepare for a week or two, that can not only be really beneficial to your health, but that can cut your spending. There's a lot more planning involved in that. Let's see, substantial savings, consider larger expenses. The average household spends about $70K annually, about a third of which goes into their housing, maybe more in our area these days. So exploring more affordable living arrangements or downsizing, that is also a sacrifice that requires some effort, but that can offer some financial relief. cars, especially new ones, can be wealth killers.
Well, I tell you, that's a bad investment, a car, especially if you finance it.
We have clients who were just in last week.
Mm-hmm.
They are just buying their first new car in over 20 years,
And it's not new.
And they're not buying a new
used.
car, it's a new used car,
Right.
right. But the car that they are retiring has over 400,000 miles in it. And now that's not not every car is going to be able to survive that long. But for him, he's just consistent with upkeep. And
Well, and
maintenance.
thankfully he was handy too, and he's able to do some of the repairs of his own too. But and it does come a point to where it's more costly to repair it than replace it. But they did buy a good quality used car that has a reputation for lasting 200,000 to 300,000 miles, and then drive it till all the red lights on the dashboard come on.
Yeah.
And then still take it to the mechanic, get all the red lights turned off, then go trade it in.
That's right. Yeah, I'll make sure that check engine light goes off. As soon as it goes off, go get your emissions done.
That's right. That's right. But seriously, I mean, you save what? If you buy a 3-year-old car, you're going to save a third or more off the price. And then if you have the cash, if you've been saving money, that's certainly the best way. If you don't have the cash, credit unions are a great place to get a great interest rate.
Right.
Maybe wait a year. If your car can make it, wait a year, because rates are coming down over the next 12 to 18 months. So if you can, same thing with a house, by the way. It's so emotionally easy to want to buy another house. We kind of persuade ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, we need a new roof, we need paint, our house is let's just go buy another house. Well, house rates are up, interest rates are up, prices are up. Maybe not the best time to do that. Maybe delayed gratification, which is something, again, it's kind of like budget. We don't like it, but it's a disciplined move.
Yeah. I'm kind of conscious of time, excuse me. But I do want to hit a couple more points. So if we have to make a part 2, we can. That's not a big deal. Avoid withdrawing from your retirement accounts early. Now, this is in the spending arena. A lot of people, I actually was asked this question last week. Someone who was around my age, you think I should pull out of my Roth to cover this home, this first time purchase and everything else? And he's about 40 years old. Everyone's situation is different, but if you can avoid pulling out of those, especially if you're going to be penalized on it, let those grow long term, because the longer that those accumulate, the longer that they are invested, the more they will grow. Yeah,
I know there are ways to get around penalties, first-time home buyers and other situations. Maybe a better alternative would be borrow from your company 401k, because that's a less expensive interest rate. You still have your money accumulating and growing. Try to avoid that, but if it's an opportunity and it's a better way to do it, I mean, you could look at that, because you're going to be paying it back over the next however many years, putting that money back in the 401k. But yeah, do be careful. That's why we mentioned earlier about having the emergency fund, having that backup fund. And a lot of people say 6 months of salary or income and I think that's a great place to be if you can get there. But it's, you start dipping into retirement accounts, you lose that compounding interest effect. It can really set you back.
And you mentioned it at the beginning of this number 3, controlling your spending. Pay off and avoid debt.
That's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah. But people don't realize, and especially when you start looking at a calculator, spreadsheet or something where you see your debt calculator, how much interest you're paying over time, it gets sobering pretty quick.
Yeah, and if you look at your credit card statements, they're not required to tell you if you make a minimum payment, it's going to take this many years to pay it off. And it can be 5, 7, 9 years. So first of all, don't make minimum payments, but maybe if you've got some credit card debt, come up with a snowball effect. I mean, we have software that can help you with that as well, that says concentrate on the first bill first. Which bill? Well, the software helps you figure out which bill to bang down first. And then you take all that money and throw it to the second one. That's a discipline. That's hey, we're going to change our ways type of discipline. Yeah. So that can put you so much further ahead.
Number 4, invest wisely. Invest early and often. Any retirement would be highly difficult to achieve without investing. To retire early, you may need to max out your employer's retirement plan if available to you. Individual retirement accounts such as IRAs or Roths, HSAs, which are health savings accounts, and any other investment vehicle that you use. Maximize that, and again, diversify as well.
Use the market. The market over time makes money. S&P 500 over the last 100 years between 7.5% and 8%. Shorter time periods are different, but if you've got a retirement that's at least 5 to 10 years away, Don't be afraid of the market, and don't move in and out of it. The best savers that we've come across are just everyday employees that don't ever look at the 401k.
Yeah.
Now they might put it, start off by putting in 10, 15 funds that we may help them pick, but let it roll. Now if you're close to retirement, maybe get some help from somebody like us that could say, okay, we need to transition, back off the gas a little bit. But if you've got time on your hands, use the market. The market's going to make money. It's going to beat inflation. And then like we said earlier, if you don't touch it, you're going to have a good retirement.
Maximize those employer-sponsored plans. 401ks, 403bs,
Especially the match.
457. At least get the match.
Yep.
And then anything over that, you can continue to contribute, or you can open out your individual IRA outside of that. You have a little bit more control, a lot more control of where you invest. Roth money is always huge for the tax savings in the future. So make sure that you understand your 401k. Most people that we come across, their largest asset outside of their home, their largest investable asset is their 401k or their TSP if you're a federal employee, or 457b, whatever. But that's their largest asset, and it's surprising how few people know about their 401k and how it's allocated and how to maximize that. So make sure that you understand it.
And that's one of the things we'll look at with our clients is their 401k. What are your choices, and where do we need to be really be diversified, take advantage of the growth spots of the market based on where they're at in their working environment. But certainly, as Evan said, maximize up to at least the company match. After that, again, look at all your options, because an outside Roth or an outside IRA from your company can be more actively managed, can actually increase your return, but still get that match for sure.
Absolutely. And if you can, if you get strict on your budget, if you free up more funds for saving, you maximize your 401k or what have you, then you can go to outside sources like those IRAs or Roths. Right now, the limit for 2024 is $7,000 annually.
Unless you're 50 and older, then it's $8,000.
That's going to compound quickly, especially if you can commit.
And if you're a couple, you can do $16,000.
That's right. That's right. So powerful tools if you can take advantage of it. But again, anything good, anything worth doing takes effort. Nothing worth doing is easy. So it's all about that discipline equals freedom. We have
you've got to be intentional. I think
absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely. We have a few more topics that are a little bit lengthy, a couple more points. So I think we are going to postpone and make a part 2 for next week.
So that's to get you to come back next week, by the way.
Stay tuned. Don't change that station.
We've left you hanging with, they call that something in radio, what is that called? A teaser. That's what it is, a teaser. So come back next week. The last 2 are really good. They are a little more lengthy. We'll touch on what we've talked about today, get more into the number 5 and 6, which I think may be the most important ones. So make sure you join us next week as we delve deeper into that for sure.
Yeah, so folks, don't forget to check out our website as well, MasterPlanRetired.com. Again, you can find links to this show, to other retirement, what's the one I'm looking for? Resources, checklists, things like that.
Classes,
that's a great point. We do seminars and webinars, so if we're in your area, come see us in person. Otherwise, you can attend a webinar and stay in your PJs for the evening.
I think somebody came to one of our face-to-face in pajamas one time, didn't they? We discourage that, by the way.
No, hey, you can be as casual as you want. You just come. I'll be happy to see you. But yeah, we do those multiple retirement topics, taxes, Social Security, some big ones. Again, federal benefits for our federal employees. We review those and how they affect retirement planning. But come check it out, MasterPlanRetired.com. Also, you can schedule your complimentary consultation with the Schedule Now button. It takes you directly to our calendar to find a time that works best for you. MasterPlanRetired.com, or call us at 770-980-9262. Mark,
and that initial consultation is complimentary. Take advantage of it. So I'm just saying, until we see each other again, remember, plan well and prosper. Take care, everybody.